The last time we read about Joseph, the earthly foster dad of Jesus, is in the second chapter of the Gospel of Luke. Joseph and Mary were now a couple with several other children. But obviously, Jesus, being the firstborn of Mary alone, cared for by Joseph, was raised by both parents. And they did what every Jewish family was supposed to do. When Jesus was 12, they brought him for the first time with them to the temple in Jerusalem for his bar mitzvah. The traditional presentation of the child who starts reading publicly the Torah in the synagogue. So that's what happened. And we are told that they went with him, and then when it was finished, when the ceremony was all over, then Mary and Joseph returned to Nazareth. And remember that people were going on foot or with a donkey. So it was a long journey, and because the roads were not so sure, and we are used to that in Nigeria, where you had bandits and armed robbers along the way, so they didn't travel all alone. So that they were, for security reasons, they traveled with other people from the town. And they started traveling, and then they didn't notice that Jesus was not with them. And the way it happened, you have to understand that in those days, just like in Nigeria, children were not the property of their father and mother alone. They were children from the community. So the whole community was responsible. And so children were allowed to move about, with their cousins, their neighbors, and along the way they could follow anyone. They were not restricted. So that's the reason why Joseph and Mary didn't notice when they didn't see Jesus, because he could have gone to have his meal with anyone on the caravan, and they didn't worry. And they thought, like the text says, that he thought that he was probably with one of their companions. And they traveled one day. Then on the second day, they started going about in the crowd of travelers along the road and asking, "We don't see Jesus. Have you seen Yeshua?" That's his name in Hebrew. "Have you seen Yeshua?" And people say, "No." Maybe try brother this or sister that. And they went about, and they couldn't find him. So they had to leave the rest of the party and then went back to Jerusalem, which was quite a distance already. And then they arrived there and started wondering where he could be. And it took 3 days eventually, from the beginning of the search to the time they met. They met him in the temple, and he was seated with the masters, with the rabbis, asking questions and listening. And people were completely bewildered to see a child of just 12, so young and yet so knowledgeable in the Torah. And then the parents were completely flabbergasted to find him, because it was the first time and they never thought that this could happen. But you see that it's Mary that talked, not Joseph. And she said, "Why, my child, why did you do that? Don't you know that your father and I were so worried? We have searched for you everywhere." And Jesus' answer was strange. He said, "Why didn't why did you search for me? Why did you worry? Don't you know that I have to be about my Father's business? And neither Joseph nor Mary understood what he was saying at the time. But obviously, Jesus knew that his Father was God. And he was talking about him. And then he went back with them. So you see how Joseph continued being protector to Jesus and to Mary. Joseph was the supporting person. He was that anchor that Mary could count on. But already then, she was having a role that was important. She was the one that talked to Jesus. And that's the same thing we see later on when he was fully grown up and he started his ministry. And he was in Cana, in Galilee, for a wedding. And she saw a need in the wedding party. And she went to him and said, these people have no more wine. By that time, Joseph was not there, and maybe he could have passed away because he might have been older than her. But you see that throughout his life, Joseph fulfilled God's plan for him. He protected Jesus. He was there by the side of Mary. He was fully committed. And he passed on his thread to Jesus and he talked to him. He brought him to the knowledge of God. He helped him become a fully fledged adult that was a responsible citizen, somebody that people knew and that they respected, a rabbi that was respected. So it's a lesson for us in parenting. Bless you.